Good morning, bonjour, bienvenue, and welcome to another episode of the Gem Hunter Show. My name is Barry B. Mixon, and I will be your guide through the art, science, history, and magic of gemstones, precious metals, and fine jewelry. Behind me, I have the pleasure introducing you to the AltNet diamond. The AltNet diamond is a 101 carat fancy, intense yellow cushion cut diamond set in a wonderful platinum setting. It was named after a major Alfred AltNet. It's now owned by the SIBA company. Actually, it was recut. Originally, it was a fancy, vivid yellow diamond. For the last few weeks, we have been talking about stories. In fact, for the last 8 weeks, because I went over the 8 elements of storytelling. Once upon a time, sound, passion, the hero, the antagonist, which is the most important part of any story, awareness, transformation, and sound again. I told you that we as human beings are genetically predisposed to understand stories. And I told you that there are only 3 reasons to tell a good story, or what 3 things that a good story does. A good story is memorable. A good story calls you to action. And most importantly, a good story makes you want to, need to tell a friend. So now I think you're ready for the next step, for the next level, because stories have a responsibility. There's things that stories do. And the thing that stories do is creates value. Ladies and gentlemen, if there is nothing else that you hear from me in all my shows, that I want you to understand, and please write this down, is that nothing has value without a story. Take a second to think about that. Look around your home, and if you were in Texas and someone told you that they're here to evacuate. In fact, let me use an example. I have a friend in France right now. People in France are visiting. Bonjour, comment ça va? I have a friend in France named Maxence. Now, and Maxence was talking about coming to Texas at one point in time. So let's say he came to Texas and the order was given to evacuate and that he could only take one thing. And I was with him, and he came out of his home with a spoon, a very nice spoon with little piping on it, things like this. And I said, Maxence, pourquoi une cuillère? Why a spoon? And he said, oh, Barry, this is not just a spoon. This was the spoon that my grandfather had in World War II. So he was part of the French resistance. And before the Nazis took over, he ran a boulangerie, which is a bakery. And they put him in the kitchen to bake cakes and pies for the high command, German high command. And what he did with this spoon is he used the spoon to dig a hole out of the prison walls. And not only did he take him with him, but he took 10 of his inmates with him. And then once he left the prison, he escaped, and with only the clothes on his back and this spoon, and he met my grandmother. So Barry, the reason why I have this spoon is because without this spoon, I would not exist. Voila. So within those 30 seconds it took for me to see that this is a spoon. And once he told me the story, what happened? This is no longer just a spoon. In fact, the way he told me the story, if someone was to come to my house and I still had possession of Maxence's spoon, when they tried to use the spoon to serve their coffee, I'm like, no, not that spoon. That's Maxence's spoon. And then I would have to tell them the story. Last week, we talked about the first engagement ring. And I told you that in the late 1930s, De Beers, which at that point had 90% of the diamond industry, controlled 90% of the diamond industry, they had a problem. Because of the wars and the struggles, there were a lot of the monarchies and the kingdoms that were becoming smaller and smaller. So they were left with the problem. They had all these diamonds and didn't have anywhere to sell them. So what De Beers did, it told a series of stories. The first story that they told was that diamonds are rare. No, diamonds are not rare. Diamonds are made out of carbon, and carbon is the fourth most abundant element in the universe. So diamonds are not rare. Big gemstone quality diamonds are rare, but diamonds in and of itself are not rare, but they made you believe that diamonds are rare. De Beers told a story that diamonds are forever. Diamonds are not forever. In fact, diamonds are thermodynamically unstable. So in time, the diamonds in my ear, the diamond in my ring, and this beautiful yellow, vivid, fancy, intense yellow diamond will eventually become graphite. It takes a long time for that to happen, but eventually that will happen. But yet De Beers made you believe that that was true. And in 1939, a man named Robert Shifley, who was actually the person who created GIA, created another story along with De Beers. They created a story called the 4 C's. Actually, there was 5 C's to begin with. But in ancient India, as I told you, in fact, this is where this diamond comes from, ultimately. In India, it was where diamonds were first discovered and used. There was a place in India called Golconda, and Golconda diamonds were so exquisite, so pristine, that they said that they were crystalline, that it was almost like holding liquid water in your hand. It seemed that light just passed right through them. But now we have the 4 C's because Robert Shifley decided that he needed to be able to tell another story, a story that he could train jewelers to tell, which would allow us as the general public to feel like we had a part in the story, that we understood the story. So Robert Shifley and my 2 girls, Dorothy Digham and Frances Gertie, working for N.W. Ayers advertising company, created the ultimate or the iconic slogan, "Diamonds are forever." And made you believe, 80 years later, made you believe that diamonds were the quintessential representative of love. In fact, my guest host, Iqbal, has a wonderful show on Mondays, told me just the other day he wanted to upgrade his wife, who he loves very, very much, her diamond. That came from a story. His belief in it came from a story because De Beers created those 2 women, Dorothy and Frances, created the story of Maximilian I and how Maximilian gave the first engagement ring to Mary of Burgundy. So here, 500 years later, people believe that diamonds are representative of love. So when Professor or Dr. Shipley created the stories of the 4 C's, color, cut, carat weight, and clarity, that was in order to continue the story. So for the next 5 weeks, I will go over and go deeper into what are the 4 C's? What does that mean in terms of a story? And I'm going to show you how the 4 C's of diamonds can relate to and empower your own story. When people talk about, let's go with the first C. Now, today I'll just do an overview because, like I said, each week for the next 5 weeks, I'll go into it more in depth. But today is just an overview of the 4 C's. The first C is the most important C, which is cut. And most people don't realize that. Cut They talk about carat, how big. Oh, I have one of my friends high school friends, she said, I want a 3 carat diamond. Well, yeah, size is nice, and we'll go over that when we talked about carat. But cut is the most important of all the 4Cs. Cut is what brings everything together. If you wanted to make an analogy between the 4Cs and stories, cut is a sound, the first sound and the last sound. It is the first sound because when a diamond cutter or a diamantaire decides to cut a diamond, he or she has to look at the overall stone before it's cut, before it's faceted. He has to look over and make a decision which direction which direction he wants to take. He decided to make this. In fact, the person who carved this diamond and set this diamond was no other than Cartier, Jacques Cartier, from the house of Cartier. They decided that this should be a cushion cut. So when you talk about cut, most people think of cut as marquise cut or round brilliant or princess cut or Asha cut. That's not what cut is. That is the component of cut. But cut is a lot deeper than that. Cut is, you're talking about shape. Yes, marquise cut, round brilliance, princess cut, oval cut. Those are shapes. And the shape is a part of the overall category of cut. But when you talk about cut, you also have to talk about symmetry. A diamond is just like any other beautiful work of art. There has to be balance. Everything has to come together. When you talk about cut, you're also talking about proportion. How does everything fit together? My friend who wants a 3-carat diamond, I can show you 3-carat diamonds that are, yes, 3 carats of weight, but is the weight all the way in the top? Is the weight on the sides, on the weight at the bottom? Those of you who hold marquise cut diamonds, the problem with marquise cut is the fact that sometimes it's too shallow and you have that what's called a bow tie effect. Women understand cut because every woman knows that when it's time to go out on an important date or dinner or function, they know that their hair, their nails, their makeup, their clothes, the shoes. And those of you, I have so many friends of mine who love shoes. The shoes have to match, have to add the ambiance to the whole rest of the outfit. That's what cut is. Cut is the definition of cut in terms of the 4Cs is the interaction with light. How diamonds interact with light. And for those of you who have forgot your 8th grade science, diamonds are one of the few substances in the world that can slow down the speed of light. Light travels at 186,000 miles per second. And 300,000 kilometers per second for my European friends. And what diamonds can do is slow down that process. In fact, some diamonds slow it down to the point where it slows down and then it bounces off of the different facets. A round brilliant diamond has 58 facets. And all those 58 facets have to work together, just like a woman going out to, and a guy too, but a woman going out to dinner, she has to make sure it all comes together. That is what cut is. Cut is what you see, is the manifestation of everything working together. The shoes, the clothes, the facets, all working together to create a sound. That when you see it, when you see her from across the room, when you see that beautiful 102-carat diamond, you go, oh my God, that's what cut is. The next thing is clarity. Clarity in the world of gemology, clarity is the absence of blemishes or inclusions. And that's a really important point because, first of all, diamonds, there's no such thing as a perfect diamond. All diamonds have some type of inclusion or blemish. That's what myself or people like me who are appraisers, that's what we use to identify a diamond. It adds its own characteristics and clarity. There's different types of clarity. There is clarity that are blemishes, which is something that hits a diamond from the outside. It's external. Polishing lines, things, and we'll go over that when we get to clarity. Those are external to the diamond. But then you have inclusions, and inclusions are internal. Now, the difference between clarity for diamonds and clarity for us is we all go through things in our life and that are blemishes. My blemish was 28 years ago, I was homeless. It was a big blemish, but I had to make the decision, and that's the difference. I had to make the decision of whether or not that incident, that moment in our life was going to be a blemish or was it going to be an inclusion? Would it dictate who I am? I'll teach you when we get to the clarity part that inclusions can also be not only just internal, but it could be internal to a molecular level. The reason why this diamond is a vivid, a fancy, intense yellow is because of one element: nitrogen. The more nitrogen you have, the more yellow comes out. The next thing, while we're talking about color, as you know, that all the colors of the rainbow are found in white light. And that's where cut and clarity comes in to dictating color, because there are what's called coloring elements: titanium, iron, manganese, magnesium, that create cobalt, are the things that make a diamond or any gemstone. It gives it their color. It's an inclusion, and there's two types of inclusion. There's inclusions that is external to the basic structure, which is called allochromatic, and then there's inclusions that are built in, which is idiochromatic. Peridot is green. It was always green because the iron, which is a coloring agent, is built into the structure. Then we have carat weight. Carat is when people think of carat, they usually, again, they're talking about size, but honestly, carat is talking about weight. So when you say a 5 carat weight, you're basing that carat on what carat means is carob from the carob seed, which is 0.02 milligrams, or 200 milligrams is 1 carat. And what's interesting me about carat weight is that we live in a world where we have all these fat shaming and people are put down because of their weight, whether it be too big or too small. But that wouldn't exist in the gemology world, because the more carats you are, sometimes you're more valuable. But at the same time, size is not everything. Bigger is not necessarily better. I can show my friend a 3 carat diamond that's horrible because the cut is off, because the color's wrong, because of the inclusions. And that's the same thing for all of us. You have to understand, where does size fit into the whole occasion? Where does color? Again, the fascinating thing to me about gemology and the analogy between gemology and people manifests itself in color. In gemstone world, there is no such thing as racism. None. We don't have that problem in the field of gemology, because in gemology, the more color you have, the more value you have. So what Dr. Shipley, what GIA, what De Beers did was create a story. And that story is called value factors. When you bring jewelry to me, that's what I'm looking at. Not just size, not just color, but how does the whole thing come together? What does it mean? You may have one quality, one factor that's higher than another. You can have a large diamond, but if that large diamond has inclusions that you can see with the naked eye, that those inclusions take away from the color, then the value of that decreases. You can have diamonds that come from really bad places geographically, but yet when those diamonds, when they are cut, when they are polished, when they are finished, become something truly beautiful. Imagine if we had those type of the way we see diamonds within ourselves. Imagine that if color no longer was a factor for us. Imagine my coloring in a diamond, I would be considered a champagne colored diamond, because that's exactly what De Beers did. Everyone knows about brown diamonds. But now what De Beers did was tell a story to make you believe, and they used a gentleman named Avion, Levine Diamonds. I can't forget his name, but Zale sells it all the time. And they created this story that now chocolate diamonds or brown diamonds are now popular. People buy chocolate diamonds. Why? Because they have chocolate or brown to yellow diamonds, or 80% of the diamonds that are mined. So they have to sell that. So what did they do? They created a story. Levion diamonds. Yes. When you talk about clarity, what are the inclusions or the blemishes in your life that have stopped you from being who you are? And so this started out as a 102 carat diamond, which is at the beginning, it was just a fancy vivid yellow, which is a lower, slightly lower grade than a fancy intense yellow. And the way they did that was they took that 102 carat diamond, and the company that decided that bought it after Allnat was called SIBA Corporation, and they took it to their diamantaire and recut it to make it now 101 carat diamond. And because they did that diamond, they did that cutting, they increased the value of it, they increased the color of it. I will talk about when we get to next week, when we get to really an in-depth unpacking of cut, how all the things as a gemologist, as an appraiser, I have to look at all those things. Gemstones are just like music. It's just like dance. It's just like art. There has to be a symmetry. It has to be like music, where it all fits together. When someone hears that sound, they say, oh my God. When you imagine wearing this brooch and someone seeing this brooch, the only reaction you can have is, wow. Whether you can own it or not, that is cut. That is the sound. So again, I want the next 5 weeks, we will be talking about the relationship between story and value, because the distance between where you are and where you want to be in your life, that in between part is called a story. And that is the only way, and I will show you through diamonds, through gemstones, that is the only way you get to value. So again, welcome to the Gem Hunter. I look forward to the next 5 weeks being with you, taking and unpacking each gemstone, helping you understand, have a better knowledge of gemstones. Is really exciting. I can't tell you how excited I am to be with you, because I've been thinking about this for 17 years, and to be able to do this is an amazing moment in my life. And hopefully you will take these lessons each week and discover the value of your own stories. See you.
Haiti borders with the Dominican.
Her name is Serena Buffalino. They call her Mrs. B, and her class always begins with a pledge.
Something local, something global. Haiti.
They're words that carry weight here. Helping yourself means helping others, giving back, here and a world away in Haiti.
And nobody's helping them, except for people like us.
It was through her the class learned of Haiti, of the nearly 1 million orphans, many with no school, no support, no Mrs. B in their lives.
They could not wrap their head around that.
Mrs. B's students are among Toronto's most at risk. Their challenges vary from emotional and behavioral difficulties to learning disabilities. Their trauma so severe they can't function in a regular school setting, and we aren't allowed to show most of their classmates.
For most of the kids, most of society has turned them away. And in this classroom, they're accepted. They're accepted no matter what for who they are.
Take Yolanda. She came here last year so burdened and withdrawn, she would often fall silent, sometimes for days on end. It was, she says, Mrs. B's patience, her quiet encouragement, that saved her.
She actually saves people's lives from dangers.
And perhaps that's why these marginalized kids feel such a kinship with the orphans of Haiti, and why they were moved to act.
And so when Yolanda and Jackie and Patrick said, well, Miss B, we need to build them a school.
Build a school, no easy task. They started out raising money. They sold samosas, washed cars, screened movies, you name it. And in just a few months, this little class raised $20,000. So much, it's not just a one-room schoolhouse they can build, but a full 3-story school. And so Mrs. B set off on a journey she'd dreamed of, up into the dusty mountains above Port-au-Prince to a town called Canaan. It's home to thousands of earthquake refugees who live with no running water, no electricity, and no school, until now. The first step was a temporary school. It's up and running, 53 students already in uniform. The permanent school for 250 is growing from its foundations.
It makes me want to cry because she just makes me feel so awed, and I'm very proud of her.
All of this because of a handful of students back in Canada and Mrs. B, the teacher who believed in them.
These are for you.
At another fundraiser, a special tribute to the students, accepted by someone who, without Mrs. B, might not be here.
They believe in me and I believe in them, and together we not only change our lives, but we change the world around us.
For inspiring great things and seeing the potential in everyone, Serena Buffalino is this week's Everyday Hero.
This is the reason why I do what I do, is because of Yolanda and all the...
Hello, everybody. How are we doing? I know I'm coming in on the middle and I didn't get a chance to kind of welcome everybody in the morning, but that's okay because you had Mr. Barry Mixon come on and he's always talking about good things about the gems. Every time I look at his background, I'm like, that's so pretty. I know it's expensive, but that's okay. I want to have my diamond ring eventually in a little while. And I always say to myself, I said, I'm not going to wait for nobody to buy it from me either. I'm going to buy it myself. I don't need to wait on anybody. I work. I got my own business. So I know the men are looking right now like, really? But again, if somebody wants to give it to me, I'm not going to shy away. So it's on both ends here. But I just want to before I bring on the awesome Mrs. Laura regarding, just talking about communication and understanding your bank code. It was really kind of different this morning. Yesterday, And I'm always open to telling my stories because sometimes you learn from them. Learn from my mistakes, as I say. Well, yesterday, I'm working from home right now because with the pandemic, so kind of all of us are kind of working from home. And come to find out that when I was on my computer, so I have a laptop, I have my laptop for my job, then I have my personal laptop, then I have a second monitor because it's kind of easy to maneuver. So everything's hooked up. I got my surge protector and all that kind of stuff going on, all good. Then all of a sudden I hear a pop. It's like pop, and I was like, "What was that?" Then sometimes people working on the outside, trucks passing, whatever. So I'm like, "Okay, it's just outside." I kind of cue that out because I'd be so in the zone. And then like maybe an hour later, there was a bigger pop, like pop, and my monitor just blew out, and I was like, "Ah." So what's going on? Okay, now that's not outside. That's the electricity in here. And what's going on? I'm looking around, same thing as if, I'm okay, nothing's on fire or whatever. So I look down where I sit, and the cord was just like coiled because it popped from there, it looked like, and there was like a black spot on the floor. And I was like, oh my God, if I would have just moved my foot just a little bit to the right while I was down there, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. I'd be probably knowing me, I'd be in the hospital still getting on Facebook Live saying something. I just thought about that because that's just me. I'd be like, okay, I'm in the, how you doing? Love everybody. Gotta go. But yeah, so come to find out that, well, after I kind of made sure everything was safe, I got a new monitor that blew out. Make sure my laptop was okay and everything. Well, the found out that the circuit breaker, they had to redo the circuit breaker thing. So then I was asking them like, okay, the circuit breaker went out, but what caused it? See, I'm the type of person want to dig a little bit deeper, like what caused this? And they're like, well, it's the circuit breaker, everything's working on, because I come to find out my refrigerator was off all night. Didn't even realize that with the whole thing that happened. So all my food is no good right now. So yeah, so it just went from here to here. So this morning when I was but this is the funny part. When they was making sure everything was okay this morning, the maintenance man and everything, I said, okay, I have 2 minutes before my show. And they're looking at me and they're like, show? What are you talking about, show? I said, my show, I got a show. It's online, I got a show, I got to start my show. He said, oh, can we be on it? And I'm looking like, no. What are you going to be on? No, you can't be on the show. I just need to start the show. He said, oh, I'm curious. See, it's just like, really? But that's my fault. I opened my mouth and said show, and then they just got all, they're like, oh, this is like Oprah. I'm like, well, yeah, I'm trying to get to that level, but you don't need to be on the show. So I had to make sure I put Barry on at least to get them out my kitchen because they still wanted to be on the show. So I said, it's a payment, buddy. You want to be on the show, you got to pay. They said, oh, that's okay. We'll just watch the show. I said, yeah, I thought so. But this whole story I wanted to tell you before I bring Laura on is because I thought of a scripture that I always go by when it's talking about focus. So the scripture, the quote that I have is focus on the outcome, not the obstacle. Focus on the outcome and not the obstacle. As you can see, I was going through a lot of different obstacles between yesterday and this morning, but my focus was still on getting things done. If I had to go in the living room, if I had to go to another room to hook up, whatever I had to do. And that's what I tell everybody. I said, what you need to focus on what you need to do. Don't let the obstacles start moving you in different directions because that whole thing could have took my day all yesterday. It could have took my day this morning. I mean, maybe if I wouldn't felt right, I would say, you know what, I might have to cancel the show this morning. No, that was going to happen. It was like, no, any means necessary, as they say. So focus on the outcome, not the obstacles that happen, because the obstacles are just there to get you stronger. That's what they're for. They're going to make you stronger, give you more encouragement, get you out of the fear factor, and just move it. So with that, let's go to Ms. Laura, because I know she has some good things to talk about, especially with communication. And maybe she can teach me how to communicate with those guys trying to be on my show. So here we go.
Good morning, everybody. I hope you're doing well. Barbara, it seems like you're having a bit of a challenging day. I hear you, sister. I woke up that way this morning too, and it's funny. Your guys who want to come and be on the show. Well, I would just ask him, well, what would your message be? And that's going to get them to think about a lot of things, and they'd probably be like, oh. Message, right? So today so welcome everybody this morning. It's Laura Armstrong, your leadership accelerator and communication expert. This morning, we're going to continue our talk around communication and how that affects you, how you can speak to the values that are important to people, to not only make sure that your message is getting across properly, but that actually people are being heard in the values that are important to them, so that you can have stronger relationships, benefit in your business, and create more leadership for yourself. So in the last two sessions, we covered the blueprint, which was the very structured person who loves processes and systems, very risk averse. And last week we covered the action, which is my first code, and I know it's Barbara's, who love opportunity and excitement, and love to really feel like they're being seen. They love image. They love taking risks. And this morning, we're going to talk about the third code, which in the bank acronym is the N, which stands for nurturer. So when you think of the nurturer, the color that we have for the nurturer is yellow. So, when you think of yellow, you think of sunshine, sunflowers, and yellow happy faces, that are glowing, right? These people, the nurturers, they have hearts of gold, right? You just want to be around them all the time because they're just such lovely people, and they love to create community. And we're going to talk a little bit about the values that are important to them. A lot of my friends are nurturers. I seem to attract a lot of nurturers. And what I love about them is that you can call them up anytime to talk to them. Okay. And they're a lot of space. So you'll be able to speak to them about anything, and they usually have time for you. So I really feel like nurturers love conversation as well. So there's a lot of that going on. So I have like a lot of nurturing personality types in my community, and I really feel like it's such a value to me, and I am to them, because they really love to be heard and listened to, and they love to talk. That's a good clue as well, which is not a bad thing. So coming back to the idea of the box that we talked about in the other two sessions. So the box for the nurturer, they're not inside the box. They're not outside the box. They're more the type that would like to recycle the box, right? So they want to help the earth. They love being green. They love everything about being green and how they can contribute to that. Okay. So selling, when you're selling to a nurturing personality, it has to be approached from a completely different perspective than the other bank codes that we talked about. One of the biggest differences between them and the other personalities is the way they make their buying decisions. Okay. So decisions are based on not what you say, but how you say it, right? So they have trained themselves to trust their instincts and intuition, and their decisions are based on gut feelings. And I'm telling you, like, my nurturing is my second code is very high. So for me, if something doesn't feel good, I don't do it. No matter how logical it looks, no matter how much it makes sense, if it just gives me that feeling in the pit of my stomach, or I'm around someone like that doesn't give me a good feeling, I am out of there, right? So how you say something to them is just as important what you say. And you can bet that they really listen to what you're saying and how you're saying it. So, before I get into the values, I would just highly recommend, when you're working with nurturers, and it's so easy because they make it so easy, just really be your authentic self, be straight up and true, and let them know your message is honest, and that you really do want to contribute to what it is you're speaking about. Okay. So the first value we're going to cover is relationships. So nurturers value relationships above all else. Okay. Money, position, you name it. Okay. It's their number one thing. So the sooner you become their friend and create a warm, authentic relationship, the more quickly you're going to be able to move forward in the sales process with them. Okay. And I'm going to also talk about having nurturing children, spouses, and how to communicate better with nurturing on a dating scenario as well at the end there. I'll just add that in for you guys because I know you like all the extra goodies. So the second value would be authenticity, which I've mentioned a couple times. So authenticity is especially critical to the nurturing personality type. You absolutely cannot fake it till you make it when you're dealing with a nurturer. It's just not going to work. Okay. This may require you to be a bit vulnerable, which I know can be hard for some people. But when you share something personal about yourself with them, it's going to give you lots of mileage with them and growing your relationship with them. They really want to see that you're a real person. And, they also want to see how they can help you, right? And be a part of what you're doing. The next value is personal growth. I really like this one because when you're selling or, influencing a nurturer, you want to identify the benefits which allow them to maximize the full measure of their purpose. So to break that down, what I mean is their purchase has to mean something. Okay. So for instance, maybe your company has a mission that they resonate with, or maybe your product, service, or offering will create more or better for themselves and yourself, right? So there has to be something more than just the sale. Okay. The next one is significance. So there are two sides to the value of significance for the nurturing personality type. So the first one, they want to feel significant and they want you to feel significant, right? Sorry, I'm having bad hair day today, so I'm just kind of trying to adjust it so it looks normal. So simple acknowledgements like thanking them for their contribution and showing your appreciation will create a feeling of significance for the nurturers. And it also will connect you to them because they know that you're being real about things. Okay. The next one is teamwork. So I use team as an acronym. So together, everyone achieves more. I love that, right? Do you love that? Together, everyone achieves more. Okay. And that is really what they're about. So team for them means everything. Okay. This is the motto of the nurturer, and the nurturing personality type wants the whole team, not just themselves, to collectively win. So you have to show them that you have a team and that you work together and that everyone is welcome around the campfire. This is going to go leaps and bounds to developing your relationship with them and solidifying, how you feel about helping others and how they feel about you helping others, right? The next one is involvement. So the nurturing personality types love to serve. The more ways you can find for them to participate, the better they will respond. So in a sales appointment, involve them in the discussion, genuinely compliment them on their involvement in the community, and find other ways to get them involved because they're just waiting for you to ask, right? So you definitely want to be making sure they're feeling like they're involved the maximum they can be because they really do want to be in it with you. So the next one's community. They want and need to belong to something that has significant meaning. Okay. The more you create the feeling of community, the deeper you step into their heart. And really, sometimes I feel like this is the basis from where all of their contribution comes from. Is creating community around whatever is going on in their life, their family, their organization, their business, their leadership. It all comes back to community and creating that, right? The next one is charity. So nurturing personality types want to give everything away. When I work with a lot of nurturers, I find this is so true. So many of them work for nonprofits. Okay. They want their life to have value. That is more important to them than making money a lot of the time. Think of way you and your company represent a charity or an initiative you have, or you work in collaboration with other groups like that. If you don't have anything scheduled, ask them for ideas of what charity or service project you and your team can be involved in. And you know what? I'm sure they've got more than a few up their sleeve. Okay. And they'd be happy to help you organize that as well. The next one is ethics, right? So ethics must be at the core of your business, not just your ethics, but also the ethics of your entire company. If there is a hint of a wolf in sheep's clothing or a tendency to hurt, manipulate, or defraud, the nurturer will not get involved with you or your organization. And when you're talking to them, you want to be sure that you look them right in the eyes so that they they can actually, they've got this special gift of like, assessing you like right down to the core of your soul. And they know if you're trying to pull something over on them. They just got that sense, right? And excuse me. So you want to make sure that you're actually being super ethical in what you do, and that you're being very straight up and honest with them and giving them what they need. So the next one is harmony. Harmony simply means peace, right? So, I always think of like the pageants where like they ask the girls the questions and, and they always say, oh, and world peace. But actually, the nurturer lives that, and they actually really mean it. So they want everyone to get along, right? Again, the phrase, can't we all just get along? They actually live by that. And I think that that is such an admirable quality. And if we actually took that to heart, our whole existence on this earth would change. So, they are truly looking for world peace. They avoid any form of conflict. They're out of there. They want nothing to do with it. Okay. And if anything in your sales process creates conflict, they will avoid it at all costs. Okay. So make sure that when you're talking to them, what you offer can help themselves and others, how it contributes to the world, and why you do it. Because your story to them is just as important as what you do. Because stories create relationships, and relationships create communities. And that's what they're all about. Okay. The next one is morality. And we kind of talked about this in ethics. It kind of overlaps a bit. So in a selling situation, you want to honor what is morally important to the nurturing prospect. You don't have to agree with them. Okay. Simply respect their feelings. That's what they want to do. That's what they want. They want to feel they're being heard and understood. Right. And that's most important to them. And as a nurturing in my second code, I resonate with what that means. So don't discuss situations that are out of alignment with their moral compass, because that's shutting the whole situation down, and they want nothing to do with that. Okay. So what contributions? Okay. So the last one is contribution. Of course, sorry, I should have said that. What contributions are you making to improve their life as a customer? Okay. What contributions is your company making to improve the lives of others, whether through charity, goodwill in the community or world, or through your product or service itself? You can also affect a nurturer's buying decision by identifying the contributions they can make by doing business with you. Okay. If a portion of your proceeds goes to breast cancer research, or, the Boys and Girls Club, scouting programs, or some type of church or religious organization, your nurturing prospect will feel like they're contributing to the world by doing business with you. And a lot of organizations now have that component in their business. So it just makes it easy for you to connect with them on that level as well. So, and nurturing customers will pay twice as much or buy twice as much if they feel there's some type of contribution involved. So they will come forward and they will buy, but it has to be in alignment with the values that are important to them. And you can see here that their values are very different than the blueprint or the action, and why you have to speak to them differently to connect with them. Okay. So, I'm sure you can think of a lot of nurturers in your family, friends or associates or your clients. When you're greeting a nurturing personality type, they are the huggers in the group, right? And it's really hard for them right now because they can't go out and hug people, so a smile, a heartfelt smile, or, a really nice look in the face and connecting with them any way that's possible is really key for the nurturer right now. If they do shake hands, which we're not doing right now, they would put the second hand on top to make that extra little bit of connection. Okay, this is a dead giveaway for a nurturer. So you're going to be able to pick up that, right away. And eye contact, like I said, is very important. Be sure you look into your customer's eyes for 2 or 3 seconds. Don't just look and dart away. That's going to look suspicious. And they're going to be like, what's going on there, right? You need to allow yourself to be vulnerable so they can actually look into your soul, which is kind of intimidating, but you're going to have to be vulnerable to connect with them. And it's just the way it goes, right? So when they look through your eyes, they are literally searching to see if you're the type of person that they can trust and do business with. Okay. And if you wanted to connect with them, you would say something like, let's make a difference together. Okay. So a few of the sales tips here. So you want to be authentic, transparent, and genuine when you're working with them. Show them you care more about them than the money. Their currency is in referrals. It's not in money. However, they will spend a lot of money if it's going to make a difference. Okay, so just keep that in mind. They are also your best referral network. So you want to foster those relationships. Okay. Introduce them to your team or your tribe. They love being connected with other beings, other human beings. So like there's nothing better you could do. And lastly, get them connected with others in the community that you have, because they're all about the bigger we are, the better we can be. Right. So just, if you've got nurturing kids, they love to be hugged, and sometimes they can seem needy. Right. So really get them focused on, what are you doing that's making a difference? Do you have projects at school? They're the ones who want to go out. They probably love animals. They love connecting with others. They have a big social network. They love school because they get to be around all the other kids. Right. So everything you're doing with nurturing children, you want to make sure that so they don't go into the needy side of things, that they're getting enough input from others and they're being social enough. And this is really going to help to contribute to them having a healthy social attitude as a nurturer. And you can foster that from there. When you're dating a nurturer, they love to take care of you. So be willing to be taken care of. They want you to have the best time. They want to feel good about it. They want you to feel good about it. You might want to go on a date where you guys are doing things that are fun, but could be helping other people or contributing in some way. Okay. And a nurturer as your spouse is a very special gift, because they'll always be there for you. They'll always listen to what you have to say. They'll want to be able to see how they can help you through your struggles. They'll also need the same from you. So be willing to not only lean on them, but have them lean on you as well. Okay. So just in summary, before we close off and the beautiful Barbara Beckley comes back, the nurturing personality type are some of the most loving, loyal, and selfless, amazing people you will ever meet. Okay. To have the opportunity to do business with them, you must be authentic and genuine. Show you care more about them than you do about the money. Okay. Introduce them to your team and get connected with others in the group. Talk about the cause you're passionate about and how they can make a difference, and create an experience that doesn't feel like a sales process at all. Give big hugs if you can, and maintain eye contact. Be enthusiastic and have a calm and approachable voice. Okay. And offer training, communicate, and share with them. The more quickly you become friends, the more quickly you can add a business relationship to the personal relationship. And when you do these things and tap into their heart, you will win their loyalty, business, and their friendship. And that, I can't think of anything better that you would have for that. So that's a little bit about the nurturer. When you're working with the nurturer, I can't think of a more kind, loving person that you could be involved with. So join me next week when we talk about the knowledge personality type, very different from the other three. And it's going to be exciting. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll see you all soon. Have a great week.
Life is so fragile, and we're constantly reminded just how fragile life can be, especially when we or a loved one is told we have cancer. Cancer survivor myself, I can tell you, we still feel very alone in this journey.
There's a study that's been showing that patients who are socially isolated have a worse prognosis, have a worse outcome than patients who are socially interconnected.
Buddies for Life is a non-profit cancer support group for those whose life has been impacted by cancer. We'll match you with the perfect buddy. Humor, hope, heart, and hugs.
Humor, hope, heart, hugs, and a whole lot of love.
We're offering you a free membership, so please sign up today. Share this with your friends and family, and support this community in every way you can. No one should face cancer alone.
I am a chemo buddy for life.
We are a buddies network.
No one does cancer alone.
Be a buddy.
And we are all here for you as a community of love.
We are chemo buddies for life.
And if you've heard 3 words, you have cancer, for yourself or someone else,
You belong with us at Chemo Buddies for Life.
Healing through connections.
Every time I see that promo, I laugh because I think I'm in there twice, and I was like, wow, that was so long ago when I first started with the Chemo Buddy, being a volunteer, and I'm so glad that I'm still there in the trenches with them and helping people that hear the word that they have cancer, and knowing that that is not what they are, and what they are is an awesome, awesome conqueror. I know they say cancer survivors, but I always change it as cancer conquerors because I believe that you conquer it. You kicking chemo and cancer in the butt, I always say. And you're going to see more promos for Chemo Buddy for Life, and you're going to see more promos of Help Healing Humanity. So there was two that I showed today, and those are the two main charities and nonprofit organizations that I'm a part of, and that they're an automatic sponsor. I'm sponsoring them on this show. So if you want to help in both areas and help heal humanity, that's dealing with children and women that are just out there like homeless, that need shelter, that need the education, all that. That's Help Heal Humanity. They are awesome. The lady that you've seen in the video, if you've seen it earlier, Serena, she is in the trenches. One thing I like about when I'm with a charity or if I'm with a nonprofit organization, I like to see what they're doing. I just don't want to just send money and say, okay, here's my money. I want to see them in the trenches. I want them to see them talking to people. And that's what they do in both areas. So in Chemo Buddy, Tamara, I just call her a queen. Well, I call ladies queen, but she's totally Tamara L. Hunter. She's totally a queen because with her, first of all, being a cancer conqueror, and then having this movement, Chemo Buddies for Life, because she said to herself, she didn't want anyone else feeling alone when they're dealing with cancer. When they hear about cancer, she didn't want anyone feeling alone about that. So she created Chemo Buddies for Life organization, where basically they are chemo buddies. They come together. If you know somebody that's dealing with that, we can find a buddy for them and be there with them 150%. So I will get more information on that and make sure that if you want to be a part of the organization or just help or just give money, I mean, you can help in all different ways. I'm going to make sure that you have information. I'll be bringing on some of the players that are in both organizations, and you can get to know them better. I think that to me, that's the biggest thing. It's like, it's one thing to say, okay, I'll give some money. It's another thing when you really get to know their story, you get to know the purpose on why they started the organization. And then that's where your heart starts to open up and say, oh, okay, I get it. That is awesome. So with that said, looks like we're done for today. Next day, Friday, same station, same time, all that good stuff. We're going to have the amazing Madeline come back. She's coming back, and she's going to do the mindset thing that she's always talking about to get our mindset going. And then we're going to have 3 authors from Make It Happen collaboration book every Friday. If you notice, I've been bringing on these wonderful authors to hear their stories and they hear how they put pen to paper and they made it happen so people can understand their journey, so they can give hope to other people that might be going through the same journeys of life. So with that said, as I always say, remember, what is your foundation in life? What I always say, your PPD, your purpose, your passion, and your drive. Know that right here, that's where your gifts, your talents, your love, just like Laura was saying, your nurturer, you love, you care for people, whatever you do, that's inside of you right there. You need to let it out, not just for yourself to grow and to do your purpose, passion, drive, but it helps others around you. It helps others around you. And we all need to come together and collaborate so we can move up together. We can level up, as they say. So with that, I will see you on Friday morning. Have a good day. And also remember, you are a diamond.